Hello, world, and welcome to Creating Light with Kelsey. I still don't have a microphone. It is in the mail on the way to me. And I love that the beginning, the restarting of this journey and the rebranding of Creating Light, because again, as a reminder, this podcast has been here since 2021, and I was building a following. I started it right after I went off grid, though, so I didn't tell anyone that I was doing anything and starting a business. That's how things work, right? You know, Kelsey does things ass backwards. But I had 50 something, over 50 episodes, and then I decided to take them all down. And then last October, so October of 2022, I launched the podcast again, rebranded myself, and then what's funny, because universe always got fucking jokes, is it came back around in April. I decided to rebrand again because I landed fully in my authenticity of how I was supposed to be showing up as a practitioner. I started again in October, but then fell off because I had started my somatic activated healing certification. And when doing that, was that another layer of awakening of like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Let go of the therapist title, step into your healer gift, show the world, here we are. But since I've been in this role now and like stepping into it and like fumbling along the way, is when I had already started the rebrand and showing up again. And you guys get the insight of like day one of someone really coming into themselves as a healer and entrepreneur. Because before, I mean, it counts. Every experience counts. But I wasn't going anywhere. Like there was no traction. I wasn't gaining new clients. It was all through the old contracting practice that I was at. Like there was no momentum. I was just spinning in a fucking hamster wheel going nowhere. And now, since the re-showing ups in May or April, I believe, is when I started doing regular, May or April of 2023 is when I started doing regular podcast episodes again. This is when you guys are witnessing the momentum, and the momentum from the ground up, because we fell back down after we realized some shit didn't work, you know? And I think that's exciting. I think I'm going to look back on these videos and these podcast episodes. I don't know if I'll like delete them at some point. I don't know, who knows? But I am sometimes painfully aware of where I'm at on the back end and the quality of things and how I'm learning to build structure and how I deliver talks. And you're here in the day fucking one. A friendly reminder, it doesn't get better until you start, until you show up. And it's not until I've consistently shown up and done different things that I realize what's needed to change, what looks good, what sounds good, what lands with people, what's getting downloaded, what's not. Not that that will necessarily change in the way of like topics that I show up, because I'm not going to tiptoe and around what people like and deliver those hot points in that way. But the way I speak and how I teach will land differently. And you kind of notice that on like what episodes are downloaded the most. And then you kind of go off of that. But you don't know these things until you start. You don't realize that obviously being in your room, this room that I rent out that doesn't even fully feel like mine, never has, because it's someone else's house and I'm renting out of it and it's fully furnished. So when I've been here and in this is not ideal. Like I don't want to keep recording in here, but guess what? There's no other option as far as having like full privacy to record a podcast episode. And am I just going to have the excuse that I'm not going to record until I have a better space? No, because then if you don't do the thing, the timeline and the person that you want to be is not going to meet you there. It's like, oh, I'm only going to show up and be a podcaster until I have an ideal environment, ideal mic, an ideal background, editing, whatever topics, shit to talk about. It's never going to happen. It is never going to happen if you wait for all these ideal circumstances. My mic, you all have experienced different evolutions of the microphone. I had a good mic and then I misplaced it Then I used my super shitty headset for a few episodes, and that really pissed me off. And I realized we're not going to do that. And then I found the better mic. Then it pooped out on me, and now I'm waiting for my other mic to come in, and I just have to deal with the laptop audio for now. That's just how it is. Are you not going to do the thing, or are you going to show up anyway? And to me, this correlation, I can make this connection really easy as an athlete because I have a cheerleader background, and you're practicing a routine and doing a stunt sequence over and over and over again. And sometimes there's quite a bit of different pieces within one stunt sequence. And sometimes when you're learning the stunt, people will not finish the whole sequence if one part is not perfect. They just won't keep going. Or if someone's a little wobbly, they'll just like bring it down and quit and stop going. And that's where it's like, are you going to do that in a competition? Like if someone doesn't load in perfect, are you going to just drop and not do the stunt? No, you're on a stage, you're in front of people, you're in front of judges, you're going to keep going even when it's not perfect. You're going to show up and finish the fucking stunt. Even if it's falling, you're going to try your hardest to keep it up in the air and finish what you started. So that's how I've transitioned my mindset into now as an entrepreneur. Like there's no excuse. If you want something done and you want to continue a dream or goal that you started, you don't stop when things get a little wonky or you're in the unknown or you're in the figuring out stage because there's always something. Life is never going to be just ease and peace without even a hint of stress or a hint of unpleasantry. I have yet to experience that. There can be some moments, but as far as a whole day to where you don't experience any unpleasant moments or a whole situation where you don't experience any unpleasant feelings, that's not real. So as an entrepreneur, if you're only going to wait until everything's all good, or you're only going to show up when things are all good, you're really setting yourself up for failure. I don't even know what the fuck I had planned today. Actually, no, I do. I had a plan for today's episode, but I have obviously this other fire fueling in me right now because today, which is Tuesday, the 7th, this is releasing tomorrow. Also, kicking myself that I keep fucking doing this. So I'm going to change that pattern. I don't like recording last minute to release an episode. It stresses me the fuck out, but I'm still choosing to show up anyway to have an episode out there because I've made a commitment to do episodes every Wednesday. I'm able to change this pattern though because I quit a side hustle to make more room for creating light and have this be my focus because this is my focus. And if I don't treat it and show up as such, creating light's never going to be a full-time gig. So I quit a side hustle, which was taking away from the times that I would want to record ahead and not be last minute because right now Tuesdays was my availability to be able to record and then have episodes Wednesday. Anyway, I did have a plan for today's episode, but I am not in that energy of that plan because I am in the energy of having my first somatic activated healing class tonight, which is started this whole rant because for that was also another thing that I had all these excuses to not start and show up because again, I'm in this space. I just have my room. The only space that is mine in my house, in this house, is my room. If you're on YouTube, I'm pointing right here. This is where I'll be hosting class. Not a lot of fucking space. So that's already would have been an excuse to, I don't have enough room to move around in the way that I want to and fully see my body and how I position the laptop for class to be ran in the way that I want. And the specific headset that I have is not the one that I want. I lost a connector to the better headset that I had, and so I only have access to my shitty headset. And that was another excuse of, okay, I don't have enough, I don't have the physical space that I want. I don't have the headset that I want. I am completely new to creating email list and funnel systems. So how am I going to set up automated systems and get people the link and all of that? Let's just not do it. Let's wait. Until when? Because you're still always going to have to figure it out. You're still always going to have to maneuver space. You're still going to be figuring out headset stuff. And guess what? Buy a fucking new one. I did. It's in the mail. And of course, it's not in for class yet. But that doesn't matter. By setting the date, it forced me essentially to get a new headset because I want a better one for people to be able to hear me clearer. And it forced me to get the ball rolling with an email system. I wasn't ever going to figure that out until I had to. And guess what? I started class and people signed up, had to. In automated systems, I don't have time. I don't have time to individually send out emails to people and sit down and manually do that. Like, no, I do not have time to do that, but it does take time to sit down and figure that shit out to start it, which can feel stressful and overwhelming because it's a new thing. I don't know what I'm doing exactly. And what's hilarious is I know that I've been in the process of moving. I could feel it. I feel a new place coming. And it wasn't until I set the date for my donation-based somatic activated healing classes that a new living situation presented itself to me. Universe got jokes. So this whole idea of, well, I can't be the person that I want to be. I can't show up in the way that I want to show up because X, Y, and Z is not here yet. If you have this belief that other things have to be happening in your field before you are who you want to be, it's never going to be here. It's always going to be at arm's reach. And for the spiritual community, it could sound cheesy and cliche and like a broken record, but the concept of you have to show up as if, or to collapse time. I view manifesting very differently now, but this part I still actually very much align with. Of what you want is not going to be here until you are already that person energetically. So I saw myself being full-time with creating light, switching completely all my work to online, running weekly SAW method classes, doing podcast weekly. That's how I envisioned. And then me launching my course in January. Those things, that's what I envisioned myself for creating light. But I also envisioned it in a different physical environment of like me fully embodying that. And the house wasn't presented to me until I was already showing up, doing and being the person that I wanted to be. I already showed up. I was already here starting weekly podcast episodes. I set a date to start weekly SAW method classes. I've been working diligently for setting up the back end for my course. I let go of all my in-person jobs. I only have one contracted position, as creating light is contracted out in that way, and it's a virtual position, working with children somatically and expressively. So it's like all of that landed. And then now the things that I want, the vision is here, the bigger space. I have an office, I have my own office, all of that. There's more. I just can't fucking think of it right now. The main thing was having a new place to live. But for that to land, so much had to happen energetically and how I was existing. And because it was like, okay, you're demanding this great space. Are you going to fill it? Are you being that person that can hold this great space? Because how I was showing up, like even 6 months ago, is like, what was I going to do with all that? What was I going to do with all that space, with that greater rent? If I was so busy and pulled in many different directions, I wasn't even ever going to be home to exist in that space. Like, so that's the key. You show up now as if, in doing everything that you can with what you have, then that timeline will meet you here. That next version that you've been manifesting will meet you here. But that's not going to fucking move towards you if you're not moving towards it. It doesn't work like that. And when you're working with what you have, just know that it gets better. It gets better. It really has no choice to get better if you're consistent and you're reflective. Like, those two go hand in hand of growing and getting better just as an entrepreneur, because your capacity grows. You figure out one thing, another thing comes and you figure it out, and it makes what you just did better, makes it cleaner, makes the delivery more concise. You have bigger systems. You can start to build a team that helps you do what you need to do. Like, none of that's going to come though until you start right now. So thank you for being here at the beginning of it all, of figuring it out. it's a testament that like anyone can do this. You can start now. If you have a mission, if you have a purpose, if you have things to say, if you already know how you're here to help and guide people, figure out a way to show up because your people need you and people will be here. I have, so real talk, I have almost 300 followers on Instagram. I released the fact that I am starting and building an email list 5 weeks ago, 5 or 6 weeks ago. 12 people have signed up and I'm expecting, I know like 5 people are going to be live for the class tonight. That's fucking amazing. Like, what? And I've only been talking about this for a few weeks. And people are here and people are excited. People are sharing it and telling people. And it's already growing because I decided to start with what I have. And if you also, okay, you have all these big visions and you want to like hold all this grand space with a bunch of people and all these eyes on you. If that were to come slamming into your reality right now and you have zero experience in that realm, would you be able to handle it? Would you be able to hold it? Or would you be shitting your pants? Like, no, be thankful. Like, okay, yes, let me get practice of holding 5 people live. Got it. Because then the next time when 10 people are live, I already have my baseline of 5, then the baseline of 10, and then the baseline of 20, and then it grows and grows and grows. Because I mean, if I popped onto my live class tonight and like 50 people were there, I would probably shit myself a little bit. And I am so happy that 5 are going to be there. And it's 5 people that I know. And from there, they're going to tell people about it and more people will come. And then when strangers are there, I'm going to feel more comfortable holding brand new people. Like it is a process and it's a process for a reason because we are humans and we can only handle so much at a time because of our ego. Our ego has to adjust to the change. Our ego has to adjust to the energetic capacity of what we are being called to as guides, mentors, healers, all of that. It's a progression for a reason because then it gets to be sustainable. The building blocks become so strong because then before you know it, 100 people will be in the room and you'll be like, I got this all day. Like, look how long my foundation is and my structures because I've already took the time to figure out all the systems and shit that I need. And I already went through the messy part. And that's the beauty of the journey. That's what makes it exciting. You get to see the progression. Okay, the end, done rambling. Thank you for coming to this random ass podcast episode. Yay for consistency, releasing on Wednesdays. Super excited about that because this is what I do. This is how I show up. SAW method classes once a week, podcast once a week, and my yearly course. And then more things are going to trickle in. If you want to join class, it's virtual, donation-based. Temporary replay links will be sent out, figuring out that portion. All the information that you need is in the show notes. Just sign up for the email list and you get access to the classes. But thank you for listening. And remember, when we see the light in ourselves, we create light in others.